Welcome to The Creative Influencer, where we discuss all things creative with an emphasis on influencers. The Creative Influencer is hosted by John Pfeiffer. John is an entertainment attorney in Santa Monica, California, who represents influencers and other creatives.
This is episode 10 of the fourth season of the Creative Influencer podcast. Today we interview Justin Kline. Justin is the co-founder of Markerley, a marketing company and influencer marketing software platform that helps influencers connect with Fortune 500 companies. Justin shares his experience working with influencers on projects with companies like Nike, Coca-Cola, and Budweiser. We also talk about how influencer marketing has evolved since Markerley was formed in 2012, and Justin's insight into future trends. I'm joined today by Justin Kline. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, John. Glad to be here.
You are the co-founder of Markerley.
Yes.
Markerly, if I spelled that right.
Yep, Marker with an Ly at the end.
Okay, cool. And you are a marketing company that specializes in growing social media consciousness while helping influencers connect with Fortune 500 companies. And I pulled that from your LinkedIn account.
Cool.
So let's unpack that a little bit. So from a 50,000 foot view, can you tell me what you do, what the company does, and then we'll drill down?
Yeah, so we specialize in influencer marketing. And, now is, the first time ever really in human history that like your next door neighbor could have millions of followers on platforms like TikTok or Instagram. And with that comes enormous opportunities for brands to reach audiences in new ways. And that is what we do in a nutshell. And I like to, pitch it as, we help brands make their marketing more human, because now is the first time ever, like I mentioned, that you can have all of these different brand partnerships with so many different personalities. It really is kind of like a renaissance of like endorsements / brand partnerships, and it's grown to be beyond what your typical celebrity endorsement looks like.
So let's first attack it from the brand side, and then I want to talk about from the influencer side. The information I found said that you've worked with the NFL, with Nike, with Coca-Cola, with Live Nation, among a bunch of others. Tell me about those campaigns. Let's start with the NFL. What kind of campaign did you do with the NFL?
Yeah, so that was a fun one. That was for the Super Bowl, and it was basically a merchandise campaign. So we found a bunch of fans of different teams, and we sent them gear, and they took pictures of themselves in the gear and then posted on platforms like Instagram.
So how did you find the
I think that was the primary platform. It was Instagram.
Yeah, I actually saw that campaign.
Yeah.
How did you go about finding the fans?
So we have technology that helps us collect data from these different platforms so that we can index influencers, and that helps us just know kind of like, what the different brand affinities are like by person. And it really helps us kind of find, kind of go in with like a fine comb to find the right people.
So what platforms are your primary platforms that you use?
So, of course, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok now is huge. Those are the main ones. And, we used to do a lot of blog stuff. We still do from time to time, but I'm really bullish on video content. Like, I think video is the way to go moving forward. It's just a really great way to get brands, or to get fans engaged, rather.
And at the end, I have a put on your your hat and look in the crystal ball and give me your predictions. But where do you? But I'm going to jump ahead on one of them though. Is short form video. You see the TikToks, the Snapchats, Reels going.
Yeah. What about it? Just my prediction, just general prediction.
What do you think? How much growth do you see over just static posts?
Yeah. So good question. I mean, I think that platforms like TikTok, or TikTok specifically, I think really pioneered a new way of editing, of being able to like edit on the fly video that you take. And, there was a company called Vine back in the day. In fact, we kind of predicted the downfall of Vine, because we saw it in the data, and we came out with a data study like a couple months before they pulled the plug on it. But I think that Vine kind of paved the way for TikTok to come out, and they definitely raised the bar significantly. I think adding the musical component helped them gain more traction more quickly, because video is great, but then when you put music on top of video, then it makes I feel like it makes the content an order of magnitude more engaging. Because music tends to it just harps on emotion a little more. And and my prediction is that that's going to continue, and that I think that adults are going to start really getting into TikTok. It started with like the teenagers and the 20 somethings, and I think we're going to move into more adult adoption.
Yeah, it wasn't just dancing and stunts.
Yeah, and it's going to be yes, and it is going to broaden in terms of like all the different categories that one might want to make content on a TikTok. For.
Yeah. So let me circle back to some of the other campaigns. You've worked with Nike. What did you do with Nike?
So we've done a couple things. The one that sticks out in my head is they came out with new sunglasses, and we helped them. We sent these. They had like these beautiful kits that they made, and we helped facilitate sending out the kits to the influencers. And we found a bunch of marathon runners, because they were going after marathon runners with these really cool, sporty, athletic sunglasses. So we found a ton of marathon runners and got them to post photos of them like running with the sunglasses on.
I've run a few marathons. I just said that
cool.
Somebody would reach out and give you sunglasses just because you run.
Yeah. Well, you had to have like a certain amount of followers too, but yeah, it's that was a good one.
Did you have any criteria on how fast they had to run? Did they slow marathoners?
I probably I think the followers were probably prioritized as opposed to whatever their speed was.
Because I was just thinking maybe I wouldn't have qualified. So one of the other companies you did was Coca-Cola. What was that campaign?
So we've done a bunch of stuff with Coca-Cola. I like the one where it was about we did a couple that were pretty notable. One was they came out with sparkling water. It was like Dasani sparkling, and we actually got a bunch of like bloggers to write about and they also posted on Instagram, but to talk about like what in their life makes them sparkle. So I thought that was like a fun one. It was just like, it was just like a fun, like, what about your life is great and makes your life sparkle.
What was the best sparkling life?
I don't recall, to be honest. I wasn't like, my hands weren't really into that campaign much, but yeah, I'll have to follow back. I'll send you some links.
Okay, I'm curious.
And then there was, we did one with AMC and Coca-Cola, which was kind of cool because we got a bunch of influencers to go and, they basically got their followers to go and try out the new Coke freestyle machines. and you could go and redeem with like a QR code. We set it up so you could go with a QR code and you get like $1 off of your Coke. And that was pretty cool. That was a fun one. Yeah.
So, and then the last one I had on my list was Live Nation. What did you do with Live Nation? I mean, did you get
so that one was in partnership. Yeah, that was like a Budweiser Live Nation thing. And there was a big event. It was a festival, and we got a bunch of people to promote the festival.
So we've been talking about Fortune 500 companies. How is it when you're working with a smaller company? Is the approach different?
So, we have pretty hard minimums, so that kind of it definitely prevents us from working with too small of a client. But yes, the strategy needs to be different. It really just depends on what the goals are too, because every client is different in what they want to, in why they want to do influencer marketing. Right. There are many different reasons. Like the obvious one that most people think of is, well, I want to boost sales, and like, yes, that ends up being very transactional, and it's very you have to approach that in a very specific way. Other reasons why people do influencer marketing would be to create content. That is one that most people don't really think of, but there is a lot of value there. You can get content created more cost effectively in many cases by just getting a bunch of influencers to create the content. And then you also get the eyeballs of their followers along with it.
Shifting gears, but I read where your company has worked on several mission-driven campaigns. And there were examples of Healthy Texas, voter suppression, or stopping voter suppression, anti-vaping, childhood development. First, just in general, how is a mission-driven campaign different than a corporate campaign?
Good question. So a mission-driven campaign is more story-driven. So it's more about the narrative, versus, getting people to go buy, lipstick or something like that.
Right. So let's go through these. The Healthy Texas campaign, what was that?
So Healthy Texas was a campaign about, and it was actually for COVID. It was when COVID was starting up, and we partnered with, our agency partner, Sherry Matthews Group, and the state of Texas to basically launch this campaign to help spread the word on like social distancing and wearing a mask and just all of the things that the CDC was recommending people do upon the start of the pandemic.
So we're recording this on March 29th. I'm in California and we still have the mask mandate, and you're in Texas, and the mask mandate is, from my understanding, completely lifted. Are people still wearing masks, or is it back to normal?
So I live in Austin, and it's a little more liberal here, and I think there's more mask wearers, to be honest. If you go out to like the country, like if you drive like 3 hours away, like in the middle of nowhere in Texas, like I think you'll find less mask wearers. Right. And it's funny that it's like a political thing. I mean, it's kind of weird, but it is. And like I'll go to the supermarket, and there will be some people that don't want to follow the rules of the supermarket because while the governor, put that, lifted the mask mandate, it's still, businesses can still, decide to have that as a rule to come into their business. And most businesses are doing that. They're requiring masks.
It was a total sidetrack, but I'm curious to see what it's like.
Yeah.
Public without a mask. So one of the other campaigns, the mission campaigns, was anti-vaping.
Yes.
Who is the constituency there? Who are you working for?
So that was Texas. That was the state of Texas. And that one was really cool because, there's a big problem with teen vaping. And there are all of these studies that are coming out that are speaking to the the harmful effects of vaping. Most kids, they were told, oh, it's much safer than cigarettes, and so you can just do it all day long and you'll be fine because it's just vapor. But no, it's actually like kids have been going to the hospital with like collapsed lungs, and it's really bad for you. And we don't know the long-term effects because vaping is relatively new. So like we don't have people that have been vaping for 50 years. Whereas we have people that have been smoking all their lives.
How did you use influencers in that campaign?
How did we get influencers?
Yeah.
So that was all TikTok. And, we used a lot of the same methodologies as far as how we identify influencers. But it was more, we wanted to find cool kids that other kids look up to, that would talk about, how you should put your vapes down. And the whole thing was about, it was hashtag vapes down. Put your hashtag vapes down, was the whole kind of story there. And it was just, it talked about, here, now I'm kind of rambling, but it was, we found kids that like got TikTok famous because they dance. A lot of them are dancers, as you know. Yeah. It was cool. It was a good campaign.
And the last mission-driven campaign I want to ask you about is the childhood development. Who are you trying to reach? Young parents?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little.
I'm sorry. Who are you trying to reach with that campaign?
Okay, so that is for First Five of California. And so that campaign is reaching, that reaches out to parents that have children that are under the age of 5, because First Five is all about the first 5 years of a child's life and how important those first 5 years are to a child's development. So we've done a few things with them. We're in fact, wrapping something up currently with First Five. But that's fun because we're reaching out to parents, and they usually have like really cute kids, and they're talking about, just how important those first 5 years are. They just launched a new website, so we're helping them promote that. And there's just a lot of educational material for parents, especially like, parents that might not, have time to go and research all this stuff. It's all in like one nice, centrally located place, all this information.
I've heard the campaign. You should talk to your kids. You should read to your kids. You should put your phone down and pay attention to your kids.
Yep, exactly.
Ironically, what was the platform you used to reach them?
So that is primarily Instagram.
Which, that's the irony of this. It's part of the campaign is to put your phone down, reaching them on the phone.
Right. It's like, we're reaching them on the phone because that's where they are. And, to remind them not to be on the phone. It should say like, put the phone down right now is what it's what it should say.
So shifting gears, your website has a blog and there's some great posts. One of the posts is 22 ways to track ROI from influencer marketing campaigns. First, for the listeners that don't know, ROI is return on investment. What are the top things that you use for the brands that help track their investment, return on investment?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, you can use, if you're tracking sales, for instance, you can use promo codes to give to the influencers that they can use in their content. That's one way. You can give them links, trackable links as well. If you also want to track the ROI like on the content that's being created. So like, if it would have costed you $10,000 to hire a photographer and like go to a studio, and we were able to get the content created for a fraction of that, well then, there's a little ROI built in to that, because you're getting the content created at such a reduced rate. And then on top of that, if you're having influencers post this out to their followers, well, then there's value associated with that. So you can look at the media value, that you're getting, compared to what you're spending. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can look at, what does a site visitor cost? How much do I value a site visitor? How much do I value an impression, by my target market? So there are lots of different ways you can back into ROI outside of just tracking straight up sales from a transactional standpoint. I think that, yeah. And, there are so many different, kind of like dimensions of value that you get from an influencer campaign. There are, ways to track value accordingly, depending on, what it is you're trying to, what needle you're moving.
How much of working with a brand is education, in the sense of you're educating the brand on what the influencer can do, because they're still stuck in the traditional media?
So, it's kind of split. Some brands are very savvy and they've done influencer campaigns before, and it's become a staple to all their media plans. It's just becoming that proverbial box you have to check, whenever you're running an advertising campaign. And then there are other brands that do need more education. It's their first time doing an influencer campaign, and, they need a little more hand holding and yes, more education. It's a little bit more of I think there's a little more, anxiety maybe because it's new and, they've never done it before. So there's, there's a little of that. And yeah, I mean, there's a first time for everything though.
So I want to shift gears in the sense of now I want to look at it from the other side, from the influencer side. You have a blog post on how to become a social media influencer. In your view, in working with the brands, what's the best way for an influencer to get started?
So influencers can reach out to brands directly. That's one way. If you love a brand, if you wear these shorts every day and they're your favorite pair of shorts, and you want to tell all your followers about the shorts, and maybe you want to go and make a partnership with the company that makes the shorts, it doesn't hurt to reach out to them and, tell them how much you love their stuff and let them know how many followers you have, and that you would be open to collaborating in some way. You can also reach out to companies like ours, sending information about your audience. That's another way you can go about it. And then just keep creating like really great content. I think like tagging brands in your content, even though, you aren't getting paid or, they haven't, reached out to you to do something with you. It's okay. Like still, post a picture of your favorite, I don't know, anything, and, and tag the brand, and, they might reach out to you if you do a good job, and they might want to work with you.
So I want to shift it to you now. Where are you from originally?
So I grew up in Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C.
And then I saw you went to school in Tampa.
Yes, I went to school at a small liberal arts college called University of Tampa in Florida. And then I moved back to DC after that. I actually wanted to be a musician originally, and I traveled the world playing music.
What instrument?
I play guitar, anything with strings. I can do like bass, I can do guitar, I can do ukulele. I play a little piano, I sing. And yeah, so I thought I was going to do that. And I just traveled for a good solid year. And I was busking on the streets. I traveled to Europe, and, I was busking in DC for a while, for probably a year before I went to Europe. And then I went to Australia for a few months. And then I went home, and I don't know, I ended up getting a real job and got into advertising, and the rest is history. And then we got in, after a couple jobs in advertising, we got into this program in California in Menlo Park called 500 Startups, and they invested in us. And this was back in 2012. And we moved to California for a few years, and now we're in Austin. We decided to move from there to Austin.
So the company started in 2012. You're in San Francisco. Tell me about the decision to move from San Francisco to Austin.
Yeah. So, I love San Francisco. Like, I think it's great. I think that our main reason was, well, I started the company with my wife, who's also a co-founder, and then my buddy Raf, who I met in a previous job. And Sarah and I, we had visited Austin a bunch of times, and we just really loved it. And we always kind of in the back of our heads, before we even started the company, like we always wanted to end up in Austin. And while California was awesome, it was just like a good time. Like it was perfect timing because we thought it would be a better place, to scale a company. I think more cost effectively, because it is just very pricey in California. And it's just more affordable if you want to buy a house and start a family. And now it's funny because Austin is like blowing up now. So I think we timed it right. And now, there's a lot of Californians moving to Austin now and driving up the real estate.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Joe Rogan. Yeah.
I think
I got to go see him live.
Played a little more role in that one, but that's just
And he's apparently like doing comedy, like all over the place in Austin now. Like I got to go see him. He's so funny.
So how do you consume content? What's your favorite platform?
I like to read. I like books. That's my preference. But I like books. I'll watch like documentaries and stuff. I like that too. I read the news online. But I do like physical books. I don't like Kindle. I don't like ebooks. I like need the tangible thing.
The touch. So
yeah.
Keep up with what's going on in the industry.
So, I read like trade publications. I think that helps. And I actually try not to fixate too much on the space because I think that it kind of puts blinders on you and then it's harder to be innovative. So like I like to have a broad kind of like a broad range of like categories of content that I like to consume.
How has COVID-19 affected your business?
How's COVID-19 affected? Well, we can't go to an office, right? Everyone is remote, and now I think we're going to be permanently remote. So it pushed us over the edge to just, and I kind of
from a lot of people I'm hearing that.
Yeah, so permanently remote, which is cool because now we can hire people from anywhere, and we're not restricted to the talent that's in Austin, which is nice. So now we have people in Dallas, we have I'm interviewing someone in Chicago, we have someone in Wisconsin, we've got people just spread out all over the place now, which is nice.
How has influencer marketing changed during the pandemic?
So obviously certain industries got hit much harder than others. So I think in the beginning, right, there weren't many airline campaigns going on. Not many restaurant campaigns, not many concerts. Yeah. So certain industries, definitely there was a drop off, significant drop off as far as brands spending money on advertising and in turn influencer marketing. So I'd say there was that. And but I think that probably some companies, they couldn't stick around. So I think there's a little consolidation going on. So I think the ones that are left standing will probably come out better than when they went in, if they can, stay alive to reap the rewards of, whatever holes in the market, any companies that went, that became defunct, left.
So now this is your prediction time. So get out your crystal ball, look into it, and will Instagram Reels take off like Instagram wants it to?
So I think it was probably a good move because Instagram's audience is a little older. Their user base is a little older than TikTok. And like I mentioned, I think that older demographics are going to start to flock to these kinds of, platforms. So, and Instagram obviously has the benefit of their massive user base of, just the pure Instagram user base that they can kind of siphon users onto Reels from. So they have that benefit. And I think that there is a little bit of I think TikTok has very loyal users. Like, I don't think that someone that loves TikTok, I think it's going to be really hard to get TikTokers to leave TikTok and go to Reels. But I think that the low-hanging fruit for Facebook is the existing Instagram user base that might not have tried out TikTok yet.
What do you think? Will Clubhouse take off?
I have mixed feelings about Clubhouse. I think it's great. I think it's cool. It's like an interactive podcast, but I feel like it's a rabbit hole
without the production value.
Yeah, but it's kind of a rabbit hole. It can be a time suck too. Like if you could spend hours just listening to people talk about a topic, it's like a never-ending black hole of discussion. And it's like, I feel like I don't have enough time in the day as it is. It's just competing with a lot of stuff, and people have gravitated towards it. So I think if certain speakers, if they're going to be on it, if Joe Rogan's on Clubhouse, like that, I think that'll be interesting. That'd be kind of cool. It's like a live podcast, Joe Rogan, like that's cool. But there are a lot of weird categories that I guess there's a lot of fringe groups that, probably would love to talk to 20 people about, I don't know, Warcraft or something,
Where do you see, this is my last prediction question, where do you see the industry in 1 year and then 3 years? The influence.
Where do I see the industry? So I think that more and more brands are going to make it a permanent part of their spends, of their advertising spends. I think that it's going to be interesting, how these platforms kind of develop around influencer marketing. It'll be interesting to see how they integrate it into their buying platforms, because I think that's going to happen. And you'll be able to buy influencers kind of like you buy Facebook ads. I think that that's kind of inevitable. But at the same time, it might not be, because of all the moving parts and the contraction and the contracts and the agents. That actually might be really hard to do. I think that it's going to be interesting to see if they can do it. I think that at the very least, they're going to make it so that agencies like us can buy ads and boost content more easily. Because I think that that would be the smart move for Facebook. That's the low hanging fruit for them. All this influencer marketing content is being created. They should make it easy to boost the content, and they kind of are right now. And we do a lot of that. If an influencer creates a piece of content, we can easily go in and boost that post and put spend behind it. Right. So that is something that I'm excited about, building technology around that and hooking into, some of these buying platforms, to be able to do that more seamlessly. I also think that, what's another prediction I have? I just think that it's going to become a normal advertising medium. It's just going to be, you've got TV, you've got digital, and inside digital influencers, you have display, and, it's just going to be one of those things that brands have to do.
Right. So my last question, if a brand wants to work with you, where can they find you on the internet?
So markerley.com is our website. And you can reach out directly to me at justin@markerley.com. That's MARKERLY.com.
That's it for this time. If you enjoyed our podcast, please write a review on iTunes and tell your friends to subscribe. If you have any questions about influencers or suggestions for future episodes, email them to John at Pfeiffer@pfeifferlaw.com. Thank you for listening.